You have no idea the amount of ignorance we're about to get into right now.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Black and Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
And Terrence.
What's up?
All right, guys, this is episode 128, Come Sunday. This film, if you don't know, is available on Netflix. So go check that out. By the way, this is a film review show. This is not where you can watch the movie, because apparently I have to say that every episode because I don't get it. Just get Netflix. Stop being cheap. Anyway, so we got a comment the other day. I just wanted to watch the movie. Why are they talking about their opinions? Because this isn't the movie. Oh, okay. This isn't a theater. Anyway.
You think we're going to show the movie on YouTube?
Do you know how copyright laws work?
Yeah, niggas are dumb.
Yeah, come on, yo. No, dude, you know how you have no idea. I don't share all of those comments with you guys, but I just respond. I'm like, this isn't where you watch the movie. Stop being cheap. I purposely insult people. Like, come on, please. This is a review of the movie. There you go. Now that you know. All right. So, Come Sunday is a 2018 American drama film starring Chiwetel Ejiofor, Martin Sheen, Condola Rashad, Jason Segel, Danny Glover, and Lakeith Stanfield. Directed by Joshua Marston and produced by This American Life Productions. This is the story of Carlton Pearson, who is a real life person, who was a Pentecostal preacher, and his fall from grace after he starts to preach this inclusion doctrine, which we'll get into in detail. Again, you can watch this on Netflix, and I do find it, just as an aside note, that this being done by This American Life is kind of cool, because this story was told by them in a popular episode. So they decided, hey, this was a way to make this, and somebody wanted to make it into a movie, so they joined with them. Which is, Mike and I were talking offline, like, they make great episodes of their podcast every week. Like, they have an unlimited amount of material to make movies from. And this one, I don't know what the budget is, but this was I thought a really good choice for a story-wise. So, Micah, we'll start with you as the religious person here. What were your thoughts on this?
Here we go. I enjoyed the film. I on the recommendation of a couple people in the fan group, I went back to listen to the This American Life episode, which was very good. And this film expands upon that episode.
Right.
As far as the technical, movie making, I thought it was a 3 out of 5. There's nothing mind blowing about the way this movie is shot. There's nothing mind blowing about some of the performances, given the level of talent. But the story is incredibly interesting to me, and I really enjoy it. It gets you thinking about religion in a different way. The story is a 4 out of 5. The filmmaking is a 3 out of 5. So if I have to quantify art, which is apparently what the internet wants people to do now, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. I'm gonna give it the same score, actually. For pretty much the same reasons. I thought some of the performances I thought were very good. Nothing like, wow, this was like mind blowing or anything, but I did think we're pretty good. Look, Chiwetel Ejiofor is just a great fucking actor. Like he just is.
And you know who else is getting his shine, but like he really, like, I can't wait to see his career, is Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah, man.
That dude does really interesting projects, man.
He really does. And it's fascinating because they're all over the place. Like, Atlanta is a very different field than this. And this is a very different field than, was that anime that he did?
Death Note or something like that.
Death Note, right? Like, for him to pick that, and then this other...
the movie where he puts on a white voice.
Yeah. Like, he does quirky, but then really serious stuff, and then, like, he's a little all over the place. but he's a really impressive actor. Like he really
He's
is.
super young too.
Yeah.
Well, not super. He's 26.
That's
Yeah,
pretty. I mean, that's pretty young.
That's
So
pretty
he's-
young, man.
he's-
Yeah.
He's got a
long
lifetime.
career.
Yeah, he really does. He really does.
Keep picking interesting projects, man.
Yeah, because he's nailing it. Like I think he's doing. I haven't seen anything that he's done that I'm like, I didn't really care for his performance. Like it may not be a movie I like super dug or anything like that, but I've always found his performances to be pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think he's hilarious on Atlanta. Like he just is. He's great. But yeah, I would give it a 3.5. It is like, look, as a person who is not religious at all, it opens up some questions in religion that I thought were really fascinating. I just did. I mean, apparently that part of Christian theology is called Christian universalism, or just simply universalism, which I thought was fascinating. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know this was a thing that people in Christianity believed. And for me, his sort of break, like the big crux of why he starts to believe in that and why he starts preaching that, is exactly the same break I had with religion. Like that was the exact reason that happens in the movie, except mine went towards atheism. His takes him into a different part of his faith, which I thought was fascinating. That people could believe that and like see the same thing, have the same reaction, but come away with it in two different ways. I thought it was tremendously interesting. I don't know. Like I still have a soft spot for some parts of religion, and like this sort of universalism, I can understand it. Like I can at least I may not agree with like all the tenets of like, oh, Jesus is watching you, all that stuff, but I can understand this because it at least to me fits a little bit more logically into the world that you purport, right? Which to me, the other way of like, if you're just born an Aborigine and you live in Australia and you never have access to these people, well, you just burn in hell. Like that seems really unfair. Like that you're just born into damnation, kind of. Like that never really made sense to me from a religion that's supposed to preach love and acceptance. You know, whatever. We'll get into it. So I did like that. I like that it's a sort of challenging thing. And I don't know, it just made me kind of think about it in a different way. I'm not going to be going to church or anything. I'm not going to suddenly start believing in God. But it was a fascinating story. And I listened to the podcast as well for This American Life. It's a really interesting story. Like it really draws you in. And I thought Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance of this guy was pretty goddamn good. Like the dude's got the cadence down and everything. Like he really nailed it. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was good. What are your thoughts?
It is a good movie. Would echo what you said. It again, I am not. Micah's the most religious person at this table, meaning he's religious.
At all, right. Yeah. He serves the bare minimum that we need to get this through.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating story. I don't know if his dream or whatever he had was my break. My break was just church is boring.
That's also a fair break.
I just don't give a fuck. Like, to be honest with you, but like I would err on his side. Like once he had that break, I'm like, that's fucked up, dog. Like,
yeah.
How do you
reconcile?
How do you reconcile all of these people in this church? So you're the only ones that are allowed to get into heaven because you're saved or whatever. Mm-hmm. But movie wise, it doesn't do anything special. It's just a good story, and it's directed fine. All of the actors, like the amount of talent. It would be terrible if they were doing a bad job in this movie. Like it would. Yeah, they would be an issue.
This should have been a layup for them.
Yeah, if there would be an issue if something happened as far as acting goes, but something bad happened as far as the acting. No, everyone's fine. Chiwetel Ejiofor, you cannot tell that dude is fucking British.
No,
like you just can't.
No,
like he's so good.
His cadence when he's preaching is such a black preacher.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yo, this dude was born in America. He was born in like Alabama.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's like he's such a good actor. Again, Lakeith Stanfield. He's coming up. It's his wife. I've never seen her before. I don't know what else she's been in, but she's fine.
You know who that is?
I do not.
That is the daughter of Felicia Rashad and Ahmad Rashad.
Oh, is that right?
Really?
Yes.
She's also on Billions,
and she does a lot of Broadway.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she's very good on Billions, by the way, if you've never seen that show on Showtime.
I've never seen it before.
Oh, she's super fun.
Yeah. I saw her in the movie.
It's like,
You know, I thought was what's the guy from How I Met Your Mother? I
Jason
thought he did a
Segel.
pretty decent good job because I've never seen him in a role like this.
he's
always
done,
doing stupid comedies.
Yeah, he's done a couple of like pretty serious things over the last couple of years. He did another movie for Netflix called, I want to say it was called The Discovery, which was about death and stuff like that. He was actually pretty good in that too. Yeah, he mostly does kind of goofball roles, and he's good in those roles because he kind of plays them well. But yeah, it's kind of nice to see him jump out of something.
Yeah, and he was actually pretty decent in this. Danny Glover didn't have that weird lisp like he has fake. I think he has fake teeth, but you could understand everything he said, so that was cool. And he was only in the movie for like 5 minutes. Yeah. But
and then I thought Martin Sheen was good because
he's
fucking
always
Martin Sheen.
good. He's
It's, again, this is a layup for him.
Everybody was like, "Fine, I'll do it."
And he was like,
just came to work like,
"You'll be Oral Roberts." All right,
fine.
whatever.
Yo, that nigga's name's Oral. I'm sorry, that's just funny to me. Overall, I'd give it a 3. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a cool movie.
All right. Yeah,
I'd recommend it.
I look forward to I before we get into it, I really look forward to the idea of This American Life doing films like this that are low budget, just good movies. Like it's an hour and
45 minutes.
Like it's an easy watch, but you're like, that was a really fucking interesting story. And that's what This American Life episodes are. You go, that was just a really interesting story. Like whether you come away with it like, oh, I'm like changed forever or whatever, but they're just fascinating stories that they pick.
I've never listened to any episodes of This American Life.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, they're like an hour, but they're pretty good. They have great production value because it's fucking NPR. So, all right, so let's get into it. I mean, I think we're all kind of universally agreed it's somewhere between a 3 and a 3.5. So the film kind of starts off with Carlton Pearson talking. He's kind of preaching, and then it kind of fades into what he's preaching about, which is he's on a plane and he's sitting next to this woman that he doesn't know, and she seems kind of like overwhelmed with life. She's on the phone and like kind of freaking out about something or whatever. And he kind of just does the cool guy preacher thing. And he's like, oh, tell me about your problems. And like,
so they get you, man.
Yeah. They get you at a moment of weakness.
They're like drug dealers, man.
I was sitting in a restaurant waiting for my food on one day at work for my on my lunch break. And this guy was white dude sitting next to me, and he starts talking to me about religion, and I'm like,
don't do that.
Leave me alone. But he kept talking, and I had to wait for my food, and I didn't have my headphones. So I was kind of like, all right, I'll listen to you. And he starts talking about like fake prophets and all this other shit. And by the end of it, then he told me he was a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm like, I don't fuck with them.
You're stating a judgment of them.
The funny thing is,
don't worry, they're not listening.
The funny thing is,
they're not allowed to have happiness in their lives.
Not allowed to celebrate their birthdays, yo.
No, they're not.
The funny thing was, by the end of it actually became a pretty, because it took for like 20 minutes for me to get my goddamn food. I was getting mad. But by the end of the conversation, I was like, that's really interesting. Because I'd never paid attention to what a fucking Jehovah's Witness said. It's kind of interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's something
I'm not going to become a Jehovah's Witness. Hell no. But like what he was telling me, I'm like, interesting.
Don't those wackadoos believe that like only 14,000 people are going to get into heaven, like it's a club or some shit? And and if 14,001 come in, they're going to be shut down by the fire marshal or some shit?
No, but your religion also believes
you
know that, right? Like the whole,
he was saying is like all other religions
are going to die.
They're just kind of like bullshit subsidiaries of
bullshit subsidiary.
Yeah.
He was like, look, Disney's the real shit.
Like,
New Line
all these
sucks.
other people are false prophets. They make money and all this other shit. And he's like, yeah, I've been one of the chosen ones to go out and teach other people the truth about Jehovah.
Is a trip, yo.
It is a trip. And I don't fucking get it.
I get it. I get it.
It was wild. He's like, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I'm like, oh.
So what hard drugs have you done in your lifetime to make you all of a sudden switch to this?
By the way, I'd like to just point out, I haven't said anything. I am definitely could make some comments, but I'm not going to.
I just found
I'm here on a mission of love on this episode.
I just found the conversation very interesting.
Yeah.
Because Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not any crazier than fucking regular fucking, like, than every other religion. They're not.
Here's the
They just
thing.
aren't.
Here's the thing. You're all crazy. All of you. All of you. You're all crazy. I always find that interesting. Like, Scientologists are ridiculous. There's no aliens. Like, no, the right answer is a zombie came back and died and made you eat part of his body and drink his blood. That's reasonable.
That's the real answer.
Oh, okay. Cool, Christians. I get it. Yeah, let's stand and point at Tom Cruise for being a weirdo. Right. All right. Yeah.
Anyway, I just felt that was a weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
But like, I don't know. Again, growing up in the church, I have a little bit of a soft spot for Christians who live by the actual tenets of like being a good person and trying to help people, like legitimately, not trying to make money, not trying to judge people harshly and things like that, but like are real people. And it can also, I mean, it's one of the reasons why Mike and I get along, because even though he is religious, and I judge him harshly for it. No, I'm kidding. But even though he's religious,
Back at you.
yeah, no, I get it.
It's a part of the deal.
Yeah, I know. It is an adversarial sort of relationship. No, but the reason why we get along is because, like, in the face of absolute logic, you're not going to be like, nah. Nah, I disagree.
Nah, Jesus.
Like, come on. Like,
Okay.
No, but you think, like, the starving kids in Africa, nah, they should go to hell. Like, wow, okay, like, we can't be friends. Even you would be like, that seems a little insane.
I can't possibly believe in that, because it's I mean, I hate to bring the mood down, but I came to this revelation when I was 5. My brother was born with meningitis and pneumonia, and on January 11th, 1986, he died. And I can't, if I'm going to believe in this, I cannot, I refuse to believe that this 9-month-old who can barely walk, let alone form sentences and things like that, I can't believe that God would condemn that soul to hell.
Right.
Because it's not even fully developed. It can't make a choice. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, how do you reconcile that?
Exactly. And for me to believe that, well, that soul is just going to hell, or that soul is going to be in purgatory and just, you know, in the Matrix loading room for all of eternity. Like, I
love how hyper serious that moment was, and then completely undercut.
I mean, that's how I deal with shit. I try to make people laugh.
That's what this show is.
Yeah. So,
like, Mike, I feel for you. I'm almost about to say something heartfelt. You're like, the Matrix loading room. Well, okay, we're out of it then. All right, great. Let's just move on. It's fine. But no, I agree with you. And like that has always been a big crux of like my issue with religion is. Yeah. And the movie deals with that a lot too, where even the people who don't agree with him are like, but he's like, well, how do you reconcile that? And they're like, I don't know. Like, at least they were honest. They're like, dude, we have no idea, but I can't roll with you is all I know. And that to me drives me slightly crazy, because I'm like, but if you don't have the answer,
why is his answer so crazy?
Why is his answer so wrong? Right. Like, and that's kind of, I mean, that's a fascinating thing that goes on in the movie. So anyway, so Carlton's on this plane. He's talking to this woman, and she's talking about how, you know, I guess her and her husband have gotten so busy, and her husband wanted kids, and she didn't, and they didn't have kids because it's a woman's choice. And she kind of regrets it, and like she's, I guess, like fearful of like her marriage is falling apart kind of thing. And he's like, look, your marriage is falling apart because, you know, you don't have Jesus in your life anymore and God or whatever. And so he's like, look, I can save you on this plane right now. And if you're taking a Southwest flight, you might need it. So she took that shit because she was like, yo, I'm not really trying to die. Shout out to Jason. Anyway, so he saves her. And that's a story he tells during his like first sermon. And everyone, and this is kind of just established that this guy is the shit, right? Like, in this world, he's got the cadence. This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. One of the big things is his church had like 5,000 to 6,000 people showing up at every service. He had black people and white people both at this mega church, which is a big deal. I mean, the funny thing is, this is in the mid 90s, right? Early to mid 90s this is happening.
98, late 90s.
No, this is 98. Okay, I'm sorry. But this is happening. And like, that would still be a big deal right now. Like, if you'd be like, damn, really?
20 years later.
20 years, right? It's just nuts, right? Incidentally, so this isn't stated in the movie, but it is in the podcast. Pearson is the one who introduced T.D. Jakes to the fucking Christian world. Like, he's basically like, he put T.D. Jakes on, which is kind of fucking wild. When he came out and was like, maybe this universalism thing is the way to go, T.D. Jakes was like, I don't know her. It was like, so that, like, that's a fact. You don't get that in the movie, probably because he was probably like, yeah, if we mention TD Jakes, he's gonna try to come after us. Yeah, like, look, we don't want that smoke because TD Jakes got way too much goddamn money. Yeah, no, TD Jakes like turned his back on it, which is pretty fucking wild. Like, that was your homeboy, dude. You wouldn't have all that money that you embezzle from suckers and poor people every week if it wasn't for him. It was like, you're right, but the doctrine says, money over hose or whatever. I don't know.
The doctrine says a lot of things.
Yeah, man, none of it makes sense. Anyway, so yeah, it's just to establish like how great he is at this job. So then we see Carlton go to see his Uncle Quincy, played by Danny Glover, and his new teeth. In prison, and his uncle's been there for a number of years. He's 70 years old at this point, and his uncle's like, "Yeah, I've been praying a lot and doing the work and all this other stuff, but I'm about to get out in 6 weeks, but apparently they found drugs in my cell. They weren't my drugs.
They weren't my drugs."
I was like, "Yo,
like,
Danny,
really?
yes, they fucking were. Okay, who the fuck's drugs were they, Danny?" He's like, "They were Mel Gibson's." He kept calling all these women sugar tits. I didn't know that.
Riggs.
Riggs
set me up. Like, all right, yo.
What if he's playing Murtaugh, like it's gone bad? Like, Uncle, I thought you were a cop. I was. And then I found out the sweet taste of that nose candy. Got up in here. Maybe those drug dealers are right. So he's there and he's like, look, they found these drugs in my cell, so they basically are giving me another 6 years of prison time. Keep in mind, he's 70.
He's 70 years old.
So a death sentence.
Like, what the fuck did he do? And how long has he been in jail?
I mean, the way they made it sound like he had been in jail for 20-something years.
I like to think that
3 strikes.
I like to think that
it's the 90s.
At the end of Lethal Weapon 2, when that dude was like, I've got diplomatic immunity, and then dude is like, it's just been revoked, and then they murdered him. Well, it really wasn't revoked. you just murdered a diplomat. Of course you're going to jail.
Yeah, that's a serious international incident. That's why Uncle Quincy is in prison.
Right. Then you just went crazy and shit. And you call yourself Quincy because you was listening to Quincy Jones or some shit. Not that. Murtaugh followed some hard times, boy.
That's hilarious. It's just been revoked. But what if it wasn't? Just because you say a cool line, that doesn't make it true, Danny.
Right.
It doesn't make it true. He's like, but I thought it was cool. Like, nah, it was not.
The rules is rules.
That's how it goes. So he basically asked Carlton, he's like, look.
By the way, I'm sorry. This dude's name is Carlton. Chiwetel Ejiofor in this film looks like a grown-up ass Carlton Banks to me. And I can't unsee it. Yo. I just can't.
He kind of does. He kind of does. Fucking Alfonso Ribeiro. Alfonso Ribeiro should have played this role.
He should have.
This would have been the true role of a lifetime. He's playing it from like fucking cradle to the grave, like the whole shebang. That's really fucking funny. He really fucking does look like him.
He really does, man. Like, especially like when this scene that you're looking at goes off, like, doesn't he look like it in that scene right there?
He got the hair and everything.
That's funny. So Quincy basically asked him, he's like, look, yeah, I'm going to do this other 6 years, but if you, being the person that you are with the stature you have in the community, if you could talk to the parole board, like you're a big fucking deal in Tulsa. Like if you could talk to them, maybe you can get me out of this, right? And he's like, nah, I can't do that. Like, you got to do the work, man. You got to be honest. You got to, you like clearly Carlton is not buying that the drugs weren't his. And he's like, you got to do the work. You got to pray. You got to do all this other stuff. So I can't do that. I refuse to do that. And so he sits in jail. He languishes in prison. Meanwhile, Carlton flies out to see his mentor, Oral Roberts. And he talks to him about like, hey man, I'm just like, I'm in this conflict because here I've been, designed to save all these people, but I can't save my own family member because he refuses to like get straight. And like, how do you reconcile that shit? And Oral Roberts is like, played by Martin Sheen. It's like, yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, I couldn't help my son because he was gay, so sorry. And then when he killed himself, I was really sad about it. Nigga, what? Like, I didn't know that about Oral Roberts' son. I was just like, he just like kind of just like, threw it out there. Like, and then when he blew his brains out, I was, I knew it was a test from God. That's not a test.
But you're my black son. I'm like, don't say that.
But that was a statement he would say.
Well,
Yeah, that is, by the way, not a made up comment for the movie. That is absolutely something he said. But the funny thing is, apparently Oral Roberts, who was a massive homophobe, because of course, weirdly progressive on racial issues. He was like, no, I get it. Black people are cool. Like, what about gay folks? Nah, fuck that. I don't get it. So, yeah. Say what you want about Oral Roberts. He was a racial pioneer, I guess.
Oral. Why would your parents name you Oral?
That's a very old school name.
Is it?
Yeah,
how many
it is.
Orals are there in the world?
There's Oral Roberts. And
Moral Oral.
There's
Moral.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I know.
Wasn't there a baseball player, Oral something?
Oral Hershiser?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
Or Hershiser. Yeah, that's right.
Hershiser? Is that Cole Hauser's relative or something?
Yeah, might as well be.
So,
Yeah, I think it was Hershiser.
Oh, well. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a terrible name. Don't name your kids that.
Yeah, that was his name.
They're just gonna get fucking beat up. So yeah, he's basically telling me, look, man, I felt this guilt, and then I kind of got over it because
he was a fag. Like,
yeah, and he deserved to burn in hell.
Burn in hell. I'm like, okay, cool.
Could you not?
All right, Oral.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. That's just
it's a terrible name.
That's not a good name to have.
But yeah, it just goes to show you like that was his moral compass. Like here's this guy that he looks up to, and this guy is like, I couldn't even help my gay son. Sorry. Your uncle just shot a diplomat. Like it ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Just let this nigga burn in hell. Like it's fine.
So I could not bring my own son to deliverance. I'm like, but there was no.
There's nothing wrong with him.
It makes me so mad.
But but this is one of those moments where you just go, this is a thing about religion I fundamentally just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand it. Jesus is your whole thing. Can you point to me the part where Jesus was like, nah, don't trust gay folks? Like, he never say that shit.
Well, I think there's some sort of passage in the Bible where it says, like, thou shalt not lay with a man.
But that's in the Old Testament. That's in Leviticus.
But
it also says don't eat a shrimp cocktail too. And niggas eat that. They don't got no problem doing that shit.
But when you go to church, like, and this is what I can't stand, right? Like, you could read this book all you want. When you go to church, the pastor or whatever usually has a message, right? And they pick quotes from the Bible and then spin those quotes to fit that message.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. And I would rather, I don't know. If you want to do that for something like positive,
right?
All right, fine. Especially nowadays, these young black preachers, they come up, oh, well, John 3:16 says, I just whooped your ass, and that you need to have your ass whooped if you don't go out there and get a fucking job. You know what I mean?
Like all right, fine.
Right. Like, all right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was correct.
Right. But But the people that use it, and I've never been in a church that uses verses from the Bible as a weapon, but I know that people do.
I have.
Yep.
And I don't think I would be able to sit there.
I didn't.
I think I would,
Literally.
The only
think
reason
would-
why I did was because it was a funeral.
Yeah, I think I would leave. I would have to, right? I don't know.
I would argue it's not as easy as you think. If you're like religious, like I know that because no one else got up. Literally no one else. And I can't imagine that no one else thought, oh, it seems weirdly unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people are, and this is not to offend religion. Like, I think a lot of people are sheep.
I think a lot of people are.
And that's, by the way, that's societal wise. Like, I don't think people don't want to stand out, right? That is a scary thought to people, to be like, all right, push you in front of the crowd and be like, now stand on your principles. People don't want to do that. They'd rather just be like, I'll just say this shit and just like skirt.
I agree with you in that I think people are, I mean, I wouldn't call them sheep. I would call them afraid because, we joked about it earlier, but judgment is a very, very big thing.
It's a powerful tool.
And I think most people, no, I won't even say most. There's a certain number of people that just don't give a shit about whether or not they're gay or whatever. Like, they don't come to church to be told that gay people are going to hell or whatever.
Yeah, sure, I agree with that.
But if something like that would have happened, they may not agree with it, but they're afraid to stand up. Yeah, they're not necessarily like we do. Like there was something.
By the way, everyone has moments like that. Everyone does, where you go, I should have said something. Yeah, everybody has that moment. That's not a judgment of anybody who's religious. But in this case, like, it's a prime example that I find it impossible to believe that 100% of people sitting in churches that are like this, just Christian churches in general. I find it impossible to believe 100% of those people go, yeah, I agree with everything that guy's saying. I completely don't believe that.
Yeah.
Like that would be insane to think that.
There was one. So we've started going to a different church.
Why?
And
Is this one of your hippie churches where you can wear jeans?
No.
Oh,
No. This is a church that my mother and father go to. Shout out to Charity Church, Pastor Tyrone Thomas.
Tyrone Thomas. This church black as fuck. Let me guess. The first service started at like 11:30, doesn't it? Late.
No, that's the second one. Yeah, that's the second one.
They got 7:30?
Yeah, I think they have. I think they had 3 services.
Jesus.
And last time we went was they were having like a Friends and Families Day or something. I don't know.
Friends and Families.
It was like the Easter or some shit like that. I don't know. But we went
Easter or some shit.
and it was the second time. It was the second time we went, right? Because the first time I'm like, all right, I like this guy. He's more of a traditional, let's dress up and we start out slow, and by the end of it, he's sweating and moving around and shaking and shit and all that, right? And it's part of the performance, right?
Yeah, it's all performance.
I kind of like the performance.
Yeah, no, like, look, if I'm gonna be there, look, I want to see it. I want dinner and a show. Like I get the cracker or whatever. Yeah, you gotta get the show.
Church, and they
I don't like that shit. Period. It's just boring.
Look,
I don't give a fuck how much they jump and sweat and scream.
Look, I don't want to have to say it and sing.
I don't like gospel music.
I don't.
I'm sorry. It all sounds the same. It's the same beat.
And
different words.
It kind of is.
It's like reggae.
It kind of is. And the
This
second
dance hall beat is fire. Dog.
the first time we
By
went,
the way, I would be more apt to go to church if they played dance hall. Like I just would.
I mean, yeah.
Like, is this Patrick? Oh shit.
We went there. I was like, all right, we'll go again. We went the second time, and he says something that I just did not agree with. And he was talking about faith and, you got to have faith and to do certain things, and only certain things are only done through faith, right? And he said,
like immediately the two of us go on.
And he said something
Jumping
to
out
the
of a
effect.
plane.
He says something to the effect of, "I don't care what your facts say."
Yeah, well, I'd have been like, good night.
Sometimes you can't do things based on fact. Sometimes you have to do things based on faith.
Well,
And
I actually don't think that's super crazy, but go ahead.
And if you just take those words as it is, it sounds fucking ridiculous. And I was like, wait, what? And I looked at my wife, and she was just like,
I mean, I can see what he's saying. Like, if
he elaborated, right? He elaborated, and it's not ignore the facts. It's you see the facts, but sometimes you have to act in spite of them.
right,
Yeah, that's a fair. I think it's a fair.
But when he said
Like,
faith
fuck your
over
facts,
facts,
nigga,
like, whoa, nigga, what?
I mean, he might as well have just said feels over real. Right? Like, nah, yeah, that's not a thing.
Right. Like,
I could probably understand. Like if you're getting into a new situation or a new job or something like that, and you're not too sure, like you just kind of jump into it, like leap of faith,
right?
What people say, but you just take that chance, because you don't know what's going to happen. There's really no facts to like go by,
right?
Yeah,
so I get what he's saying.
Yeah, jumping out of a plane,
but
that's based on faith and not facts. Facts say jumping out of a plane is incredibly dangerous, and you're
with a
probably going to
parachute.
die. But I have faith that this parachute is packed correctly by the dude bro who works at Jumps R Us or whatever. So yeah, I get it.
So I'm just glad he cleaned it up, boy, because when he said that shit the first time, I think he did it for shock value, and it shocked my ass up. I was like, whoa, bro.
Yeah, calm
Facts are dumb. Is not what I'm saying. Like, wait, can we not
do
play
that
like
shit.
that? That's not cool, man. I almost left. Yeah, that's kind of hilarious, actually. So then we see this kind of momentary. It's a small thread throughout the movie, which is this sort of instability in Carlton and Gina's marriage. Just a side note about the performance of Gina's character. Excuse me, I forgot the woman's name. Condola Rashad. Yeah. I thought her performance was the weakest, and it's only because of one issue. It's not. I shouldn't really say her performance, but she was affecting an accent.
Was she?
Like it's like a weird Midwest accent, because she on Billions she doesn't have an accent, and like I was like, why is she talking like that? I was like, that's not what you sound like.
I've never heard her, so I couldn't tell.
I was kind of like, I couldn't, like, I was having a hard time like kind of connecting with her character. I was like, that's not what you sound like. You sound weird. And then I realized she's trying to affect like a Midwestern kind of accent a little bit. But you sort of see. So I don't want to take that away from her performance. It was just kind of a little strange. I thought if she just talked the way she talked, it would have been fine. But you sort of see like an instability in their marriage, right? And you get this understanding, like they have like kind of poor communication skills between the two of them, which is kind of ironic. And it's always like the most religious people. God will save your marriage. You talk to your wife? Nah, I don't talk to that bitch. Get out of here. God knows what's in my heart, girl. Come on now. So yeah, they have this whole thing, and she kind of it at least isn't intimated to me like this idea that she doesn't really like being the church first lady. Yeah. Like she's not really into that whole thing. And a little bit more of that comes out kind of late.
And it almost seems like she's not 100% behind what they preach.
Yeah, the sort of mega church.
Mega churches.
Yeah. I mean,
like which sect of Christianity is this that he's teaching?
I think he's like Pentecostal.
Pentecostal.
Yeah, Pentecostal.
All right. Yeah. Again,
super duper
there's like
crazy.
different fucking factions in religion that teach the same fucking thing differently. Like, okay, right, cool, gotcha. From the same books, you just different factions, like fucking the NWO in the New World.
There's NWO Red,
yeah, like
and NWO White.
I hate both of you.
The Latino World Order. Like, what the fuck, yo?
I'm just saying, yo, it's a little weird to me
The Latino
that there's just
World
so
Order.
many factions of religion.
Yeah, he was
with the same
he was an
books.
evangelical.
Was evangelical? Is there a difference?
I don't know.
Like, what's the difference, Micah?
Don't look at me, nigga. God. that's about.
Like Kojic. I had to go to like Church of God in Christ when I was a kid. I don't even know what the fuck the difference is.
I went to an AME when I was a child.
What does that one mean?
African Methodist Episcopal. When we go to Florida, we go to a Presbyterian church. We go.
Nigga, you can't play round robin. What kind of shit is that?
My parents'
Pick one
church?
and stick with it.
I don't know what my parents' church is. Oh, by the
Yeah,
way,
your parents are Baptist, aren't they? They black.
yeah, they are Baptist because my mom just got baptized like a month ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Guess who's not baptized?
You?
This guy.
They didn't baptize you when you were a kid?
I think I may have been baptized.
I definitely was baptized. Like, I think it
Hell,
was
let's
8.
drown your daughter. Let's drown your son for a little bit.
Maybe that's why y'all don't believe in religion. Because y'all
It's fucking
drowned in a child. Hey, this is for God. Like,
Whoa. Hold on. How dare you? The two of us can swim. That's why your ass ain't baptized, because you're afraid.
well, there you go. That's it.
Come on, get baptized. I don't
good.
trust it.
Nope.
Tread this water. I can't.
Especially because they won't baptize me in like some clean bowl or something now.
They
I'm too
gotta
big for
put
that
you in
shit.
the-
They gotta put me in a. They gotta take me to the reservoir in Druid Hill.
Yeah, nigga, they got to get into a river. You too goddamn big. You don't fit in that tub.
We gotta go down to the harbor.
We're gonna get so many hyper negative responses on YouTube. I can't wait. Y'all don't understand the blood of Jesus.
You're right, I don't.
Yeah, I don't. I don't really care. That's the funny thing. I don't give a fuck. But that's really funny. That's to take you to the harbor. That might be the worst place to get baptized.
Yeah, you'll die 2 weeks later.
Right.
Oh, well, I guess he just wasn't worthy, I guess.
Right from the science center and shit.
Next to the old ships.
Just wait for high tide to come in so that all the water covers the steps and shit.
Look, they're not even getting in. They're like, this harbor's dirty. They just push your ass in there.
Right.
If you can get out, you made it.
If you can get out of this dirty ass water, you automatically saved.
Yeah, Jesus loved you. If not, well, you're a witch. I guess I don't know. I don't know the rules. So then we find out that Carlton gets a late night phone call that his uncle Quincy committed suicide in prison because he was like, "Yo, I'm staring,
70.
staring down the barrel of 6 years.
I got
I'm
6 more years in prison.
Nope.
Thanks, Carlton, you asshole.
Yeah. And so he kills himself, which then Carlton speaks at his funeral, and he speaks at his funeral and he tells like people like, well, you know, he never found God, and then isn't the whole thing like if you kill yourself, like then you definitely go to hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
suicide is frowned upon.
Yeah, you
'cause
definitely go to
your
hell.
life is a gift, and
Even though
you killing yourself is literally a spitting in the face, I guess. I don't know.
that's interesting. Yet the same people believe in the death penalty. Weird.
Well,
Almost
you aren't killing yourself.
That's someone
almost
else's
disproportionately. Almost disproportionately. The most religious people in the world think that the government throwing electric shock through someone's body is the most reasonable thing we can do instead of rehabbing them and forgiving them for their sins. That seems really odd to me. Care to answer that one, Micah?
No.
Okay. Moving right along. I just find it ironic.
Yeah.
But what about babies? Nigga, this is a full-grown person. Murder them! All right.
They made their choice. And here's the thing, like they'll try to save you. Like, well, it's out of our hands, right? Because you're going to get the death penalty because the law said so. But
By the
it's
way,
our job.
By the way, we're a Christian nation.
It's our job to save you before you die.
Yep. So I can get those fucking points on the board. Anyway, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. As long as I have many saved people below me, I rise.
Yeah.
No, it's
I'm
not
at
a
the
pyramid
top.
scheme. It's a multi-level marketing scheme.
That's true. That's true. Religion is the new Amway. Or Amway is the new religion, I guess. Say it that way. So he finds out, he goes and he I guess he preaches at this at Quincy's funeral. Then he tells his mother that Quincy had actually asked him to save him previously, but he refused to do it. Which it's a surefire time to tell your mother that her brother murdered himself. Like, hey, I mean, I could have probably prevented this, but
he asked me for help, but I was like, fuck that nigga.
but you know God and all. So I was busy.
She was just like, why? Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, and then ironically, she goes a different way later on, and I was kind of like, but that's what. Then why were you mad at him? Yeah, we'll get into it. That didn't sit well with me. Like, not from a continuity perspective, just like as a human continuity moment. I'm like, but you said one, okay, so we're going a different way? All right, well, that seems hypocritical. But whatever. So back at home, one night, he's up with his, Carlton's up with his daughter. He's watching the news. Apparently he's watching, this was told in the podcast, that he was watching children coming back to Ghana, and he's watching the news of these like African children who are dying. They've got distended bellies and they're dying of starvation and all this other stuff. And here he is holding his daughter who is fat and happy, right? Like, and so he's trying to understand. He has this crisis of faith. He's trying to understand, why is it that him, his daughter, and his friends and family can all be made available to them to find God and to live this great life, but these African children never have that chance, right? They're babies or they're young toddlers and what have you, and they die, and their parents die, and their parents watch them die, and all this other shit, and this heartbreak. And then he says that he hears this voice of God that's like, they're already in hell, but they've already been saved. They're going to join me in heaven, so like they don't need to be saved. Like, how do you save these people? And he's like, God's like, nah, dog, I already took care of that. Didn't you see Passion of the Christ? And so then he starts to sort of take on this universalism viewpoint of religion. What are your thoughts? So what are your thoughts on this, Micah? Because again, I assume are somewhere in the middle of this, right? Like, first off, do you believe in hell? Do you think hell is a real thing?
No, this is what happens when you die, in my opinion.
Okay. The gospel according to Micah.
You cease to be. You just cease to be. Like, when you die, there is no. See, my views on religion are weird because I don't necessarily think that there is a hell, and I don't necessarily think there's a heaven either. Like,
this guy's gonna burn somewhere.
I know, and I can't wait to hear all the terrible comments that are going to come. But
if you like, I'll field them.
I would rather you didn't. I want you to. I get
devil. Angel, leaning towards that. Terrence is making a lot of good points there.
I mean, because
what about fuck you?
If you are, you can't. So traditionally, you can't have one without the other, right? Because that's how you get scared into doing straight, right? Like you're promised something good, but if you do bad, then you will be punished forever, right?
I believe they call that the crookeds with the straights.
The gospel according to Troy.
Yeah.
But
there's a big woman now from Florida.
I think that there was a guy on this planet named Jesus, and I think he was pretty cool, right?
He's a cool guy named Jesus. No big deal.
I can't explain, resurrection or whatever. But I do believe that when you die, there is no necessarily hell. I believe you cease to exist. It's like if you are asleep, if you are unconscious, you don't know anything around you.
Right.
Like you just are unconscious until you are conscious again. But in that same token, this is where so is there a hell? No, not really. But I choose to believe that because it makes me feel better, right? Because my brother died, hasn't been baptized. I'd like to think that he's not burning somewhere in hell. Right?
He didn't do anything.
He ain't do nothing. If anything, it's your fault because he was born with meningitis, right? So but here's where the logic comes in, and I'm like, fucking trying to divide by zero. If there is no hell, then is there a heaven? Because one would argue you can't have one without the other due to, 2,000 years of scripture, or however long the earth has been around.
6,000 years. The earth is 6,000 flat years old.
So,
by the way, that's feels over reals because, fuck science and facts and carbon dating.
because
or
fuck
whatever.
dinosaurs, right? Those are magical beings.
They were put here to test our faith. Some people actually believe that.
But that's my
Lord,
that's my crisis. Is if I believe that there is no hell and you just cease to exist, then there can't necessarily be a heaven, can there? I don't know, and I don't want to talk to a preacher about it. I don't because
They don't know either.
Because right, one, they don't know. Two, they're going to pretend to know.
Yeah, that's
And three,
insulting.
Right, and three, they're going to make me feel like shit for not doing it. And four, they're going to try and make me be a better Christian or whatever. No, man, like that book was written by man to look. I think that book is a big game of telephone, right? I do believe that
that's not an opinion. That's a fact.
like I do believe that there's a guy named Jesus around, and I think he was a pretty swell guy, and he did some really nice things for people, right? But those stories got exaggerated over time, and then people decided,
These comments are gonna be on fucking fire on YouTube.
Yo, you know what? Maybe if we want to have a society, we can't have people running around, raping women, murdering their neighbors. Like maybe if we all come together to say, hey, if we're going to coexist, we need to set some ground rules. One, don't kill each other.
Yeah, that's bad.
Right. Because if we kill each other, no one's going to be around anymore. And nobody wants to die. So let's just all agree not to kill each other, right? And then two, hey, if I got this woman, that's mine. Like, don't try to fuck her. Don't try to take her. Don't try to take my piece of property. I don't go around stealing your woman. Don't go steal mine.
My piece of property. That's
Interesting.
well, the number one way to subjugate women is through religion. But go ahead.
But you see what I'm saying? Like
I do.
And people don't respect that, which is why I don't talk about religion to people. Which is why I don't. I don't fuck with people like that.
So, okay, this is one of the things I find to be curious, right?
Because people say, well, you're not a real Christian. Well, fuck you, yo.
Yeah, I would argue that's a fair response. I believe I told a woman that, too. She said that you weren't a real Christian. I was like, look, I'm an atheist, and go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
like, you don't get to judge people's religion. Now, I mean, you as far
You
as
can
like,
judge it all you want, but guess what's going to happen? You're going to catch a swick fuck you.
yeah, I mean, that's fair. Right? All things being relative. Now, what I will say is really intriguing, or this is where the sort of the rubber meets the road for me, is I think that a lot of Christians don't believe the idea that if you are not baptized, then you will burn in hell forever, even if you were a good person your entire life. Like, if you were suddenly like a Mother Teresa type person, even though she had her own issues too, but like if you were a Mother Teresa type person, you were just like helping people and all this other stuff and giving away money and giving away your wealth and just doing all these good things, these very quote unquote Christian like things, but you never got into that religion. That was just not your thing. That you just burn in hell. But a person who murdered, raped, shot, killed, did all this other terrible shit, but on their deathbed was like, bam, 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 and hit the fucking cross and was like, yeah, forgiveness. And they just get to go to heaven? Like, that guy, you can't send Simon Phoenix to fucking heaven. Like, that's terrible. It's a terrible fucking logic. But I don't think a lot of Christians actually believe that. I think a lot of Christians don't want, going back to what we said earlier, I think they don't want to say that they don't believe that. Because the doctrine says that you're supposed to believe X, Y, and Z. And I don't think that I don't think people really go, yeah, no, my cousin who like, maybe did a little bit of dirt, but he was an all right guy. Hey, he didn't go to church, whatever. He's burning in hell. I don't think people believe that. I think you might go, you get to the pearly gates and Jesus is like,
St. Peter's at the door taking tickets and shit, seeing if your name is on the list.
Like, I don't believe, like, how are we teaching our kids like Santa Claus ain't real? But that's the same argument. Like, well, there's a naughty and a nice list, and like St. Peter was like, yeah, you made the good list this time. Like, all right, cool. I don't believe that.
Potential juror number 5 come up, answer these questions.
You know what it is? I think people like the idea of religion or like getting into heaven is the last 2 episodes of Seinfeld. They just bring out all the people from your life and they're like, this guy's not a good guy. Like, I don't trust it. No. And then they're like, no, you can't come in here. Like, I don't believe that. I don't think that people believe that. I think people, like you said, it makes you feel comfortable, right? It makes you feel better that the people that you love, they get to go into heaven. And the people who are truly evil, the Adolf Hitlers or the, Sean Hannity's, like they burn in hell, right? Like the truly evil people of the world. But I don't think that they believe that just like, that guy just didn't have religion, so he just burns in hell. I don't think people believe that. But I think that people don't say
what
it.
they believe.
Yeah, they don't know
when
what
it comes. When it comes,
I also think that
they just don't know what they believe. They just know, religion. I
believe in God.
It's something because I don't want to believe there's nothing.
Right.
I think it's
because people can't fathom the fact that my life must mean something. Like they can't fathom the idea of just non-existence. Even though when they sleep, they generally, unless you dream every day, you are essentially, your consciousness is non-existent. You're not aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah. It's not like you're in a coma, which is a different thing.
Right.
Which, by the way, is the most terrifying thing to me. But yeah, I think that's largely true. I don't think people really think about what they truly believe. And I think that's one of the things, and you see it in this movie a lot, is when the mirror is held up to them.
Yeah, when he asks them, they're like,
they don't have an answer.
They don't know. They just know
but
the Bible. This is what I was taught.
Right. But that to me is the most terrifying thing about religion. Right? It's this and there's judgment. No, I think it's this idea that people don't really know what they believe. And then when you challenge them with facts, like you and I know that what you're saying doesn't make sense. Now, come on.
Yeah.
Like, let's try to work it out. They just go, I don't know. And then a wall goes up. And that's a fucking scary thing. When you're living in a world of 7 billion people, you can't just go, I don't know, and then shut down. The entire crux of this fucking story is that here is a guy who has this awakening, whether you believe it or not, whether you think he was talking to God or the devil or just hearing voices or whatever.
By the way, people don't hear voices.
Thank you. I agree with you. I think it's your consciousness saying something to you and you just go, all right, that's probably God. No, I talk to myself in my head all the time. Hey, look out, that sidewalk is broken, and then I move. Like, shit like that. I don't think it's God. God's like,
even if it is,
make sure you edit the podcast tomorrow. No, he doesn't say that to me. It's my brain going, oh, you got to remember that.
I mean, I wonder when people say that they talk to God, I wonder if, like, it's not like a conversation, right? Like, that would be
if
stupid.
it is, you're one of those crazy people on the street that's got tattoos on your face.
Right.
You're
like,
insane.
it is your thought. It is your mind.
It's an inner monologue.
Yeah, it's an inner monologue, and you're not even necessarily like the impulse to do right or to do. That's not necessarily, or that could be God, right? That could be the religion in you, but that's not God saying, "Help that old lady across the street."
That's your human nature.
That's your nature. And you look, if you want to attribute that to God, I don't have a problem with that.
But the funny thing about that is, okay, fine, you have inner monologue all the time.
Who's talking to you when you're like, who's talking to Ray Lewis? He's like, stab that nigga. Who is that? Right? Because God gets all the credit when it's good, and none of the credit when it's bad. Right, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, what about Rwanda's civil war? That was the devil, nigga. I don't know. All right, wait, what?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like,
it's very inconvenient.
Like, all right. Here's another fucking. I hate talking about shit like this, but
I enjoy it.
Yeah. By the way, you were like, "Hey, man, come Sunday's out." I was like, "I didn't." Yeah,
I really stepped in it, didn't I? I really put this fucking.
Oh, by the way,
13 Converse. In my
by the way, we were doing this movie anywhere. That's what I was like, "Oh, this is on the list." But no, I think it's a fascinating conversation. I think it forces you, not just you, but it forces everyone to really think about what do you truly believe, even if you don't believe in religion.
So a lot of people think, well, why do people do bad things if God is all powerful, all knowing, and can do whatever, right? But God is very insecure, right? And God needs to
Look,
for lack of
I
a
ain't
better
say shit.
for lack of a better term, right? So human beings are put on this earth and given a choice because God wants to see if people will choose to love him, right? Because if God wanted to, he could make you love him, right? But
Make
then
you love me.
That's some rapey shit.
Isn't that from In Too Deep where he shoved a fucking pool stick up the dude's ass?
Yeah, he wasn't too deep, I guess.
God,
How did no one know that joke? See that joke coming.
God wants to know if he's cool enough to be liked by people. And he gave humans free will.
Right. Because angels were already...
Right.
Yeah,
we
they
would
already
all
love
be
it.
angels, right? We were, oh, hey, God, what's up, man? Yo,
You dope.
you're fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to let you know that.
Thanks
right?
for these sweet wings.
And then somebody was like, hey, how do you know they really like you? Like, you don't. You just making them like you. And you're just like, well, fuck you, nigga. I'll show you. Bam. Give me a week. Bam. Humans. Bam. Earth, right? And I'm going to let these motherfuckers know that I'm here if you need me, but you don't have to follow me if you don't need to, right? And
Thanks.
and he wants to see
Shout out to God.
and he wants to see that's why my views on religion are very different from most people. I don't think that God intervenes on behalf of humanity for anything. I think God is just up there taking inventory. Like I've said this to you on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
God sees us as his little ant farm.
Yeah.
And
You're not the first one to make that analogy. It's true.
he's just watching. Like that's what I truly believe. I don't believe that.
So what you're saying is he's an absentee landlord,
I mean,
laughing his fucking ass off. Is that what you're saying?
One fig leaf. That one fig leaf.
God damn it, I love that movie.
It
really
is-
fucking love
it
that
is-
monologue too.
It is utterly ridiculous, but Al Pacino delivers a performance that is so over the top and fantastic in that movie. Whoever wrote those lines nailed it. They just super nailed it. They hate religion, but they super nailed those lines. It is very obvious. Devil's Advocate is awesome.
Anyway,
But no, I think more again. I think more people believe those some variation of that than you think. I think so.
not the majority.
No, just calm down. I didn't say that. But here's how I know, right? Because as much as the Christian religion preaches, and I know there are parts of Christian religion that don't preach anti-LGBT shenanigans, right?
Now.
Obviously. Right. No, but I mean, there's always been like the more hippier sides of the Christian religion. They're like, nah, man, everybody's cool. Like,
no,
we're
how
cool.
long has that been a thing though?
No, for a long time. Like I'm talking about the groups who have always even been pioneers of like racial issues and stuff like that, right? Not these fucking evangelicals. I'm not talking about these loons. But I think a lot of people believe some variation of that, right? And because of that, I think one prime example was, remember when Obama came out and said he was keeping it fucking quiet. We're trying to work with gay folks. I'm not trying to fuck gay folks over and all this other stuff. And then Joe Biden came out and was like, no, like gay folks should be able to get married. And they threw that shit up as a trial balloon. Like people were like, oh, Joe Biden went out on his own. No, he didn't. They were like, Joe, get out there and say it. Because if it don't work,
Right.
we just like, nah, crazy
Crazy
Joe.
Joe.
Crazy Joe. Like, I don't know.
Crazy Joe, he forgot to take his insulin today. I don't know.
I mean, he was on Amtrak again. Like, we don't know.
That's
Like,
what the vice president is supposed to do. He's supposed to fall on the sword for the president.
that's right. Exactly. It's not just to break a tie vote, okay? No, like sometimes we need you to go out there and take the hit. And he went out there and people were like, yeah, cool. Good. We're glad that you finally got there. And then right after that, they were like, what's the Obama thing? And he was like, got clear away now. And he
Right.
came out. And within 6 months, they had done that survey that black Americans, it was like 40% flip. That 40% of black Americans are now okay with gay folks compared to the last time they had talked to them. And it's not because suddenly Obama said it and they were like, oh, Obama is the king of black people. Like, I agree with him. It was because they always believed it. And now a black prominent person who they agreed with and is seen as a leader in that community, gave the fucking okay, and he's a religious guy, or so he says. I don't really buy it, but he gave the fucking okay for them to be who they truly were.
Yeah.
And to me, that shows that people don't believe in all this hardened shit as much as they say, but they're afraid to stand up and take the fucking hit. They're afraid to be the fucking Joe Biden.
Right.
Because it takes a lot to jump out there and be that guy. It really does. So I don't hold these like hard, like anti-religious views against just like regular Christians. I do when it's like the leaders and shit, like those fucking psychopaths. I'm like, you know what you're doing is fucked up. They know. But a lot of people just go, yeah, I agree with it. Because not really trying to get that smoke. Like they just don't want it.
I don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are scared. So then after he has this sort of crisis of faith and this sort of universalism where he thinks that everybody is actually saved. And let me just read the definition of universalism, which is a doctrine that all sinful and alienated human souls, because of divine love and mercy, will ultimately be reconciled with God. And of course, it says the doctrine has generally been rejected by Christian religion, who hold the doctrine of special salvation. But again, this was the break for me with religion. I just never understood damning people who never had a chance.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, yeah, no. Little baby died? Sorry. Oh, they just go to purgatory. What?
Like, that seems harsh.
I just lost? Like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of shit is that? So, I never understood that. But, like, for me, I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. And then it was like, oh, and all the dominoes started to fall into place. None of this makes sense for me. And I just bail. He was like, that doesn't make sense. So let's try to figure this out and try to make it work inside of Christianity, which was, of course, his downfall, which is just fascinating to me. But it does bring up a point of like, if you don't believe that there's a hell, then does that mean that people who are rapists and murderers and that sort of thing, they get a fucking pass, which is brought up to him. And he couldn't answer that, which I appreciated. He was like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. So yeah, it's fascinating. Also, he then goes to church and he preaches on this revelation that he had. And people are like, this seems a little shady. But you're all Christians. You're sitting in church thinking, yeah, these little poor African kids are just going to burn in hell? Like, isn't that fucking weird? No one thinks this is strange to you?
You see who the first person to speak out, right? That motherfucking white man.
He was like,
He was
no.
like, nah, fuck that. I pay your salary. That's what we say to cops.
Yeah, that shit don't work. I mean, that shit don't work for
He was
us.
like, nah, we built this church. I'm like, okay.
I mean, they
Like, it would be the white guy.
that black dude was like,
He
sit
was
your
sitting in
ass
there
down.
like-
Yeah, he was.
He was already like salty as fuck as he was preaching.
He's like, I don't
I don't
trust
like
it.
this nigga no more.
Yeah,
But as long as you're preaching what I like, it's fine.
yeah, but it's just that idea that you would have swaths of Christians being like, yeah, no, those kids are gonna burn in hell. I mean, people have called Christianity and organized religion cults of death. I mean, one can make an argument.
But when you have the phrase "put the fear of God in somebody," like, yo,
Why are you afraid?
You basically preached fear. Like,
Yeah.
well, the Old Testament guy, again, what he says in that sermon was
Yo, there were a couple of times I was like, yo.
I mean, but
No, I kind of wanted to high five him. I was like, yo, this dude's gonna become an atheist, right? Like this is what's gonna happen, right?
I mean,
like by
all
the
you
end,
have to do is just look at it, right? Like
yo.
like that God is a monster. You know?
like, that God's a monster.
And he was like, whoa. But he
Like,
did the
no,
thing.
yo.
He did the thing of your
me out.
preacher. He was like, yeah,
Oh,
that
hear me
guy's a
out.
monster of religion, yo. It was dope. Like, nah, yo. Like,
He's
once
like,
you
no,
say
but
that,
he-
people turn the
Yeah.
fuck off.
They flip out.
Yeah, like,
But
They're like, but that's not our God.
right.
like, nigga,
That's
yes,
the
it
God
is.
just like, well, again, the fear of God, because
Okay.
if you don't believe in him or whatever, he's going to do some fucked up shit to you.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when your father says, I'm going to put the fear of God in you. He's about to whoop your ass.
Yeah, it's not.
That's fucked up.
Oh, with the fear of God in you.
Like-
What you gonna do? We gonna go get some ice cream, boy, and sit down and have a lovely talk. Like, no, that's not what that
No, he's
means.
about to beat the shit out of you. Like,
That's
that's
terrifying.
cool. That's not cool, yeah. So,
Yeah, there was a whole thing about beating kids in this movie too, which I thought was
yeah, that was funny in the beginning.
yeah.
Like, now white folks beat their kids like black niggas. Like,
That was real, by the way.
Yeah, that's a
Really?
real
That's a
quote.
real phrase?
That's a real
That's
quote.
Yeah, and on the podcast, they played the quote like of him saying that shit. He was like, "Yeah, there's another quote. They don't play it as a quote in the movie, but I'll get into it. It's one of the more fucked up things that happens. So then Henry, played by Jason Segel, after that sermon, he's like backstage at the church. He's like, "Yo, are you seriously like contradicting 2,000 years of doctrine, my guy? Like, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to make this money." But yeah, he's terrified. He's like, "Look, I don't know if that shit's right, but you can't do that here."
He don't. His character doesn't believe that that's right. His character.
Yeah, no, he straight up doesn't.
Yeah, his character is. His character is devout, and it's just like, nah, yo, like what the fuck happened? What was that? Is it April 1st?
I'm just kidding. I don't believe none of this. Are you crazy? Get out of here. But then Henry says this thing that I thought was weird. He says, he's like, "Well, what about these African children? Like, what about, what about them?" He was like, "Oh, they'll be brought to God through a missionary or a vision." Or I was like,
essentially,
vision?
if they want to find God, they'll find God.
They'll
What
find a way.
kind of fucking bullshit?
He fucking
But that's
Jeff
exactly.
Goldblum that shit.
Yeah.
Finds a way. Like,
Yeah.
like, no, it doesn't.
like
motherfucker. What are you
God
talking
finds a
about?
way. I don't even speak English. I don't have a book. I don't know any of that. I wrote down. I wrote, Henry says that they will be brought to Christ by some means. ... It makes no sense because it doesn't. Because what you're saying is like they could be brought to God through a vision. Well, then how do you know everyone hasn't already been brought to God through whatever means? Right? Like that
Someone can come
argument
up to you
doesn't
and be
make
like,
sense.
"I had a vision last night."
Well,
What did you give it to
from Henry's point of
What were
view,
you smoking before?
from Henry's point of view, I feel like the character is saying, "Look, because of what I said earlier, like if God wants to see if people will choose Him, and it's not necessarily. Yes, it is their job to try and bring God to people to have them see the light, but it is up. It's one of those lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink things."
Right.
Like if they want to drink into the goodness of the Lord, he feels that they will find a way, and if not, wash my hands of it.
Wow, thanks, Pontius Pilate. Like, kind of fucking shit is that?
That's what I think their character is.
That to me makes no
trying
sense.
to say.
Like that to me shows that to me shows that you're willing to throw away all of your humanity for a book. That to me, that's what that says. That you don't really give a shit about whether or not people are really saved. You care about getting points on the board. Right? I mean, I know it's what it feels like to me. Like if you truly care about these people and you truly think that the only way for their immortal souls to be saved and all that other stuff, wouldn't you, like, I feel like it, at least at some point in church doctrine, you'd be like, yeah, we can't really have this set up because that shit don't make sense in the real world. Maybe, I don't know, somebody like bullshit a line in the book and like try to make this shit fit. But like, because they make whatever they want to fit.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, like, let's get real. If you think that they're okay with cars and planes and all this other random shit that's happened over the last couple 100 years, no, they figure out a way to, God. I mean, think about it. Dinosaurs are the perfect example. They're not mentioned in the Bible, but religious people will be like, well, there's this passage that says, like, there are animals of all shapes and size. Yeah, there were T-Rexes on the fucking ark. Like, they just make the shit make sense when it's convenient that they can't ignore it anymore.
Right.
So why would you set it up so that people in these countries that you can't possibly get to and help just die? I guess that's because of the whole fear thing, right? Like, you still have to keep that as a part of the doctrine.
Well,
To get people to come out on Sundays and give, $280.
Well, it's the whole God helps
Specifically.
those. It's the whole God helps those that help themselves. There's only so much I can do, but they have to go seek God out, and hopefully they find a way. But if they do, great. I'll try to go over there and I'll try to set up a mission, but there's only so much I can do. That's what they believe.
That's
In my
wild.
opinion.
That's wild. And everybody who's a different religion, fuck them too.
Yeah. Fuck every other religion.
Because it's wrong.
Because it's a competition, right? See who's got the most points on the board.
And I don't.
By the way, the Muslims are kicking your ass. They are, dude. Right. They're whooping that ass, man.
Which is why I can't. It's another thing where I believe what I believe and how I believe it, because I can't rationalize. Like people take it so literally, and I don't understand why. How can you have
not Carlton Pearson? He was like, "Nah, yo, this shit is mad made up."
How can you have all these different people that believe all these different things? What is it, just like 8 gods up there? Is it 8 gods for your one religion? And then it's, then the Muslim religion, then the Christian religion, then the Hindi religion? Like, are they all just up there and then just picking and choosing the people that they want? Or is it all one God and we are all interpreting our different books in a different way? Like, that's why you can't take this stuff literally, because it doesn't make sense. Even on faith, it just I don't know. All right.
I'd like to just point out, Micah chose this movie. Excited about
save your comments, man, because I really don't like, unless you have a comment that is
constructive,
somewhat constructive. You can disagree with me all you want. But if you start insulting me,
I'll just ban you.
I'll just ban you. Fuck off.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll just ban them. It's fine. I love doing it. Do it all the time. Like, look, I disagree with your opinion. That's cool. You guys are fags. Ban. Guess what? No one will ever see your comment because I've deleted it. Like, it's fine.
Those are very strange comments.
Everybody who leaves comments like that is donkey brained.
Retarded.
I mean, one could also use that word.
Oh, man.
I don't like to because I'm a good Christian. That's not true. Okay, so from there...
religion is fun, guys.
It's great. I think it's a great conversation, actually. Word of Carlton's radical views spread across Christendom. And he has to go to a hotel and fast for a couple of days to self-reflect and to find... answers to his questions. I find it interesting that, hey, let me stop eating and just drinking water, so I'll go into like a mental fucking craziness, and then that's when I'll find answers.
That's when I'll talk to God.
Right.
Because I'm fucking
delirious.
You had a full belly. You were chilling watching TV when he talked to you last time. Why are you starving yourself, dog? Like, he was like, I'm trying to get these abs before summertime, but I also need to talk to God. So I'm gonna do this water fast. Yeah. Mike and I have done fasting. It's really hard.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. And I'm only fasting 16 hours a day. Nah, I could barely do that.
I quit. How about that?
I don't believe in fasting.
Look, I was like, I'm just bulking now.
I'll just hit the gym harder.
Yeah, that was my answer. Like, fuck that, man. You want to get, like, oh, you going to get abs? Nah, I'm good. You know what? I didn't need them. I'm fine.
Yeah, God was like, you don't need abs.
Yeah, God talked to me. He was like, a healthy 15% body fat is more than fine. You're good. You look great. I made you in my image. Thanks, God.
What image is that? Like, if God made everyone in his image, what the fuck image is it exactly?
Just a humanoid. Just a general humanoid.
Just to look like a human? Because there's all different types of people in this world that have
God's 5'9", by the way, 165 pounds.
Jesus
Perfect
is probably
specimen.
like 5'5", because everyone's
Jesus
shorter.
Probably
back then.
like 4'5". Yeah, people were short back then.
By the way, there is a couple passages in the Bible. I'm pretty sure that kind of suggest that God was kind of like, or Jesus rather, was kind of like fat, which is also kind of hilarious. Like, I'm the son of God. It's just like a guy with a fucking beer belly. Like, nigga, if you don't sit your drunk ass down. I kind of I like the idea of like a fat Jesus. Like, skinny Jesus isn't as interesting, right? Like, this guy's got abs. Like, nah.
Yeah, everybody when
he's got a good reach.
Everybody
like,
when they have their interpretation of Jesus, like
hitting the fucking gym.
He looks like Captain fucking America.
Like, what is he doing?
Breaking off
to
the
get
fucking
that body?
breaking off the crucifix.
Yeah, it's like they took that scene from Captain America where Captain America's holding on to the building and the helicopter and is just flexing his bicep and shit.
Like, yo, Jesus doesn't look like that. Nah, Jesus is eating like in his part of the world, Jesus was having a lot of naan. He was just sitting
eating
around a
mad
lot.
bread,
Right.
drinking a lot of fucking wine, and they got a beer belly.
Right.
Get out of here.
A beard and a fucking
Probably
gut.
had a hairy back. Probably had a fucking gold chain and driving cabs and shit. You see where I'm going with this Persian stereotypes, Middle Eastern Persian
Because
stereotypes?
he wasn't white.
Because
No,
he
he
wasn't
fucking
white.
hell no. Couple of a fucking pair of fresh
Blonde head,
Birkenstocks
blue
on,
Right.
ready to go.
You
It
know,
was
people
like,
trip
look.
me out with their interpretations of Jesus, either looking like a hippie or looking like he's should be singing September with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, nigga, come on, yo. Come on.
You know what he looks like? He looks like the head of the fucking Rajneeshi cult from Wild Wild
Right.
Country. That's what Jesus
Yeah.
looked like.
Giant fucking beard.
Like he should be on a food cart selling you some fucking halal and shit.
Have you
man.
tried my new meat? I also do carpentry. Come on.
Table.
Well, he was a carpenter, so maybe Jesus was Mexican.
My last name
Maybe.
is Carpenter.
I like to take the American God approach of Jesus, and then there's just like a bunch of Jesuses for everyone who believes in Jesus.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's a black one, a white one, a Mexican one, a Middle Eastern one, a Korean one.
Korean Jesus is probably a badass. He probably knows kung fu.
Yo, Korean Jesus will whoop your ass.
If ever there was a subtitle for this episode, Korean Jesus will whoop your ass.
You never see Korean Jesus up on that cross.
Nope. I ain't going. You get up there. Korean Jesus doesn't fuck around. So he does this fast. So he can become delirious to talk to God. Then Henry Fields calls about Carlton's views. He goes to see Gina and find out if the issues that Carlton is having stem from their marriage. She says no, but she states that she has a lot of problems with their marriage and that she was practically set up in an arranged marriage. Now, the thing about that scene with Gina and Henry, I thought that was really fascinating, is so this is a part that's not in the movie, but it was in the podcast where he's like, yeah. You know, when he married you, you know, the pew practically cleared out because, you know, he's like a decent looking guy. And so like all these women were like trying to holler at him. And then he gets married. These single women are like, nah, I'm done with this dude. Well, she's like, yeah, I heard those stories. Yeah, because in reality, Carlton used to tell those stories in sermons. Like he would say, he was like, yeah, they used to say my wife would, you know, practically ruin the church because, you know, all these women.
damn.
Yo, he used to say, like they play. I'm like, yo, she's sitting in the front row. She can hear you. Like he would just say that shit during the sermon.
He's a very personable guy,
Yeah.
from what I can tell. Like, that's why Moral Oral over there was like, yo, you got the gift, yo, because he can convey messages to people. He's one of those people that is charismatic enough that he can start talking and get you to listen to him. Like, not
get
many
on
people
board.
can do that.
It's true. Yeah, no, he was a fascinating guy because they do a lot of like actual interviews with him like during the show, which is kind of cool. So then Carlton meets with Reggie, played by Lakeith Stanfield, who is a young gay guy who is one of his most faithful followers. I think he plays like the drums or something in the church. Carlton counsels him on the difference of being gay and doing gay.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Oh, I mean, you might be gay. Doesn't mean you have to have sex with other men. Yeah, that's kind of the big part of it. I mean, it's the banging. Yep, that's kind of what those guys like to do, and that's fine. I don't give a fuck. But it just goes to show, like, even in this crisis of faith, he's still got that judgmental Christian bullshit still behind him.
Right.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen if I do lay with another man? Am I going to hell?
Right. Can't stop me, nigga. You said it. Like,
Even later on, he was like, yeah, but it's not the same, though. Like, all right, man. All right.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Yo, you have a conch perm, dude. Don't judge people for what they do with their sexual proclivities. Then Carlton meets with Oral Roberts as well at this diner. Roberts tries to convince him to let this whole new inclusion doctrine go. Carlton does not. Then Carlton continues preaching inclusion at his church. And this to me was my second favorite scene because he does this thing where he uses quotes from the Bible to prove his point. Because people are like, this is bullshit. And he's like, Henry, why don't you get up here and read right here? And then he did that like fucking callback shit where he had Henry read it and then he would repeat it with the microphone. He's like, and it says, Jesus died for all of us to be saved. And he's like, died for all of us to be saved. You heard that shit? Timothy 1:10 or whatever. And it's in 2 Corinthians. And everybody's like, shocked. Yeah. It's in the book you pretend to read that you've never read because it's boring as fuck to read. There's the first 30 pages are John begat Susan or whatever. Like, nobody gives a shit about that. Just skip to like page 9 and then start reading. I tried reading the Bible once. I think I made it to like page 10. I was like,
yo, that book is really long. And it's got a lot of words in it.
It's got a lot of words in it.
Which version did you read?
Like, I don't know, the King LeBron James version.
I knew you were going to do it. That's why I did it. People have said that you shouldn't read the Bible from cover to cover.
Wait, what?
Hold on. You shouldn't read it from cover to cover, from Genesis to Revelations. They give you certain passages certain books that you should read first.
The Bible's like 56 books or some shit
right,
like
because it's ridiculous.
Wait. Don't read the book of God from beginning to end.
Not in that order.
Skip around?
Yeah, skip around.
Nah. Genesis is the beginning because it says in the beginning. That's the part you start at. You don't start at the end of the Harry Potter novels and be like, well, then Voldemort died. Like, oh, that's great. Wow, thanks for the spoilers. No. You don't start at the horns and the fucking devil horses and shit. You gotta start at the beginning where it was boring. There wasn't anybody there. You can't skip. What kind of Cliff Note bullshit is that? Nah, whoever told you that's a liar.
It was
it wasn't like your parents were there. They're cool.
No, I think it was my aunt. She was like the matriarch of the family. She was
her? Nah, she's lying to you, dog. But don't do that. No, you're supposed to read it from beginning to end because you know why she says that? Because that shit don't make no sense. It doesn't.
They said it's a little more palatable. They gave me an order in which to read it. They said it's a little more palatable this way. But
don't they have the one that's like in regular language?
Yeah. That's
translated for you.
GNT, I think. Let me see.
The hell does that mean?
Gin and tacos?
The good news translation.
The good
news translation.
Yo, this sounds like some bullshit translation. Like, and then God said, and they're just like, oh, let's just write anything we want here. You're not going to compare it to the LeBron James version, so who gives a fuck? That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
no, you don't get to skip around. You got to read that shit as it was intended, as Charlemagne and his followers took bits and pieces out and put other parts in as they intended, just as Jesus, who had died 1,000 years before, had intended it to be written and made up for other people to read. Because God. And he says that, by the way. He was like, no, but we know, like, they took parts out of the Bible and put other parts in. And they were like, that's not true. I'm like, yo, that's a fucking fact. It's a historical fact.
He specifically cites that there are contradictions in the Bible.
Don't tell a preacher that shit, boy. I got in super trouble when I was a teenager. I said that. I was like, but this fuck don't make sense. And he was like, faith. And I was like, all right, nigga.
And this is what he says, go to Romans 10, verse 9, right? And that says, if you confess that Jesus is Lord and believe that God raised him from death, you will be saved, right? That's it, right? Just stop right there. Start right there, stop right there.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, what's the other part?
And then he goes to, and then he says, white man, could you go up and read John 3:16? 1 John chapter 2. And it says, my little children, these things I write to you so that you may not sin. And if anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous. And he himself is the propagation of our sins, and not for ours only, but for the world, but for the whole world. Right?
Yo, end of movie credits, my nigga. This dude's right. It's in the book.
So it's like, well, it's in this part. but this part says this thing, but this part says this thing. Well, what do we believe? Like, stop taking this shit so goddamn serious.
No, you know what you do? You ignore the one that is inconvenient to your narrative.
That's what I
Religion is Twitter. That's what it is. It is. Hey, but what about this thing? Nah, I don't believe that. Nope.
It doesn't fit my narrative.
No, it doesn't fit my narrative, man. This doesn't fit my macros. I'm not going to eat that. Like, that's all it is. It's in the book that you wrote.
Like when people are taught debate
damn.
and when people are taught like oratory skills, like you don't just pick out. You wouldn't if you were writing a paper to get your doctorate and you had to prove something. You know,
Right.
You wouldn't take out one snippet of information.
You can't do that.
Right, like you can't do it. This isn't a back of the box movie quote.
Right.
You can't just be like, this movie ... amazing. Like, wait, what? What was in the ellipsis?
They yada yada.
This movie is the furthest thing from amazing.
No, you said the words. You said it. If I throw an ellipses in there, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah, you can't yada yada religion, but they did. But I like that that was one of the more clever things. I was like, I like that. Like, I like this guy. Because he basically they're like, and the white guy stands up and he's like, you're gonna read out of the book. He's like, yo, I just read it. Right. I had a white man say it to make sure it was okay. That was amazing. And to me, in the face of actual facts in the book you believe, you're like, nah, not buying it. He was like, no, you can't just rewrite the Bible. He was like, I didn't rewrite it. I just reread it.
Yeah.
He was like, what he should have said, if he was on some real nigga shit, he would have been like, did you read it? Did you read the Bible? Get your ass up here. Yeah. I'm like, no, you read it. What did it say? Open your book to page 19. I don't know what the fuck.
You read it wrong.
Yeah.
That's the argument.
You read it wrong.
You read it
You
wrong. How do
interpreted-
you read it right?
You interpreted that wrong.
I don't understand. There are people, and I think a decent amount of religious people, I wouldn't even say, not 75% or anything, but I think there's probably 50% of religious people who think that the Bible is infallible. That is an amazing thing to me. It's infallible. They're like, this is why gay folks are bad. And I'm like, yeah, but you're having crabs right now. They're like, well, you're correct.
I am.
By the way, like if religion is your basis for being anti-gay and you've ever had shellfish, shut up.
Old Testament. Stop making up shit.
Yeah. Why are you bringing up old shit?
Right. It's in the name. Old.
It's old, right?
Old.
That shit is literally on the same page. Like it has the same level of importance. He wasn't like, allow me to list from really bad to least bad the things that I disagree with. He was like, nah, don't fuck dudes if you're a dude, or don't fuck women if you're a woman. Shrimp cocktail is out, and protect your neck when it comes to trichinosis, my guy. Like that is it. Like, don't touch a pigskin. Like that shit isn't unacceptable. But y'all niggas watch football every goddamn week. Mm-hmm. Whatever's convenient.
I downloaded a picture that I was going to upload to the fan group yesterday. And it's perfect. It's perfect for this episode. It says the Bible says being gay is fine as long as you're high. A man who lays with another man should be stoned. Leviticus 20:13. I was like, that's pretty goddamn funny.
That's funny. As long as you're high, it's fine.
That's funny.
So then we find out after all this more inclusion doctrine. By the way, while he's doing this this callback and he's having he's having Henry read this and all this other shit. He has, if you look at his Bible, he has a number of passages labeled because he had found them.
Yeah, most people who I saw when we were in marriage counseling, the dude was like, how you expect me to know who you are as a Christian and marry you if you don't have your Bible and, it's got some creases and some highlights of your favorite passages in it. Like, how am I supposed to know? I'm like, nigga, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, I paid $30 for this Bible. I'm not putting creases in it.
Like, what the fuck? Like, all right, yo, first of all, my Bible is digital. How the fuck am I supposed to put a crease in my phone, nigga? You want me to take you want me to take a bic to my screen? Like, it don't do that, yo. It's got a screen protector.
Hold on. Do you really legitimately in church use your phone?
Yeah. I'm not walking around with a Bible.
Why not?
The preacher uses an iPad.
Okay,
That's fucking funny.
all right.
It's a brave new world, gentlemen.
Hey, look, I don't know.
But does God? Does he? Does he go along with that iPod? Is that something he condones? That iPad?
It don't say he don't condone it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. That was very religious of you.
But by the way, we were breaking news here. Trans people totally fine. Not in the Bible.
There you go.
Fucking robots. Not in the Bible. It's cool. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Sorry, gay folks. It's in the Bible. It's the way it goes. Sorry, slavery. It was in the Bible. So it's fine. Yeah. Yikes.
Then that's when they would use the gun argument, right? Like the gun argument that we use, right? Like we use the gun argument of, well, when the founding fathers wrote that, there was no way they could imagine that a gun would shoot 8,000 bullets in 4 seconds, right? So they would be like, well, when God wrote the Bible, there was no
when he wrote
way.
it. Right. Hold on, guys. I'm on chapter 5. I'll be with you in a second. I'm not writing the Bible.
There
right
was
now.
no way he could have imagined that, because it's always a he, there was no way he could have imagined that these trannies would be walking around.
But it's God. Doesn't he know everything forever and ever? Oh, sorry. Hey, it's me, God. I forgot something. Does God forget his keys when he's leaving the house? What the hell are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So is he rewriting it himself? Like, is there going to be another version comes out in in another couple
no
years?
idea how many different versions
He
of
puts a bunch of
languages.
carrots in between fucking verses.
Gay folks are carrot, not evil, it turns out.
Look at all these different versions
Nigga,
of
what
the
the
Bible.
fuck? What do they say?
Most of them say the same thing, just in more palatable language.
New King James Version, New Living Translation, the Amplified Bible, Books of the Bible, the Darby translation of 1890. Don't read that one. That shit's all about slavery. I guarantee you. That shit sounds mad shady. 1916. Nah, yo. Pick the ones from like the 80s.
There's a ton
1650? Nah, don't read that one. Nope. Nope.
1650. Good lord.
Wow. Those Bibles are wilding. So during that, he says that this God of like who condemns people for just not believing. Quote, this God is worse than Hitler. This God is worse than Saddam Hussein. Those white people were like, they were just making a fucking beeline for that door. We're done here.
That's a quote.
Yeah.
That's a real quote.
He said that shit. He said that shit with his chest. It was like, God is worse than Hitler. God damn. So then Henry and all the other white evangelical like bigwigs at the church go to Carlton's house and meet with him. And Carlton's like, yeah, man, look, I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, he's got his gold chain on and shit. He's like, nah, I got you. Like, if I fucked up, I'll try to change shit. And they're like, nah, dude, we're leaving. Like, we're out. We're starting our own church. And he goes, nah, you guys ain't leaving. Come on now. And they're like, no, for real. We're out. Like, we had enough of this shit. And so they feel Henry feels kind of bad because they're good friends, right? So, but that's not the first time I've seen close friends get torn apart because one person chooses religion. So that's not really surprising. Or family members, which to me is fucking bonkers. Because to me, there's nothing more important than your family. I'm not going to just let some religion rip my family apart. That shit makes no sense. Burn your religion to the ground first. Anyway, so while at a grocery store, Gina runs into what I would argue is the most normal-looking black woman I've ever seen. Like, she's the most plain Jane black woman I've ever seen. She's not an actress. This is just a black woman in a grocery store.
They got her right.
They were like, we need you to pray over this woman. She was like, I will do it because I am a good black woman trying to help another random black actress. And like, that was it. And she comes up to her and she's like, oh, we're just praying for you. And, I'll pray with you right now. And Gina's like, oh, okay. And then Carlton walks around the corner and she was like, oh, shit. Like,
right. Nigga eating a stolen frozen pop.
Yeah, because he believes in inclusion, so there ain't no crimes anymore. Like, he can't go to jail for that fudge sickle. Like, he's good. He got his Bill Cosby sweater on and everything. Are you good? And that black woman is like, "Oh shit, what up, Bishop? How you doing?
Teaching your kid to steal fucking food from the thing, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jesus don't matter no more to your goddamn ass.
By the way, you know what? First of all, this nigga's middle name is Demetrius, but he spells it D''Metrius.
Of course he does. And that's how I'm going to write his name from now on.
And second of all,
yo,
did you catch?
This nigga's from Wakanda, isn't he?
Did you catch what his daughter's name is?
It's like Majesty, right?
It's Majesty.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Majesty Peterson. Or Pearson.
Pearson. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Really?
I mean, I guess he could have gone with Your Majesty, like Jermaine Jackson. Yeah. Which is weird because he stole the name I was going to name my son. Really conflicted with me. So then we see choir practice, and Lakeith Stanfield's character Reggie passes out because he has a low T cell count, which would lead me to believe that he has HIV. And so this is where he's sort of counseling him about like, oh, just keep fighting through the gay. Like, you won't make it one day. And then we get a scene which was really interesting. A Bishop Ellis of the Joint Council of African American Bishops asked Carlton to basically come stand trial in a heresy case. And he agrees to do so. And then he straight challenges these dudes straight to their face. What he does here is really interesting. By the way, this is the best shot scene in the movie. Mm-hmm. That scene where he's like kind of giving this speech in front of these bishops, and they got like the literal son of God behind him, and he's like fighting these old fogey assholes. But then he calls out Bishop Ellis specifically, and he's like, "Look, man, like you wouldn't get your dad out of hell if you could." And he basically is like, "No, I would let my dad burn for eternity, even though I love him." And they're like, yeah, no, we don't agree with that. That nigga got burned in hell. Like, that's just like you don't get to just get people out even though you love them. Which again comes to the crux of the religion of you are pushing against what you know in your heart is the right thing because the doctrine says another.
Right.
I don't know. I can't imagine doing that anymore in my life. I just can't. I mean, I guess you can just not believe those certain tenets, which I guess is the solution that most people find, which it sounds like that's what you found, right? Like shit that you just don't believe in. You're like, I just don't believe that.
Yeah, I just don't believe it. And I try to, live my life the way that I feel like I don't need an incentive to do right by people. And I don't need an incentive to not do harm. Like I'm too old for that shit. I am like, right. I get it. I get it. If you are a young person who like children need that type of discipline. And when if I'm fortunate enough to have a child, we're probably going to raise him or her to be religious. But if at one point they come and say, hey, this isn't for me, I'm not going to get bent out of shape about it. Because quite frankly,
we have a job to do, Terrence.
I'm not.
Yeah, let me watch your kid for saying, hey, you ever been to brunch? It's on Sunday morning. It's just dope.
Because I'm not. It would be highly hypocritical of me because I don't feel that way right now. So to impart that, I will impart those teachings, and I will instill the heaven-hell motif to a child just because I don't know what it's like to raise a kid. If that's going to help me keep that bastard under control, then I'm going to do it. And, when they
that
get
is the most honest fucking admission. I'm going to use this
is,
Because
yo.
these kids is out of goddamn control.
I mean, but that's what
But
it
that's
is.
what they do.
That's what it is, and people don't want to hear that.
See
man.
but that's what I like about you, because you're at least honest about it. People are like, no, I believe that because you try to keep these kids from fucking burning your goddamn house down.
Right.
If you like that match, you going to hell.
If
you gonna burn.
If
Like,
you're
no.
30 years old and still need an incentive to not break the law, because that's what those 10 commandments are. That's what we base our laws on.
Right.
Like, if you need an incentive to not do that, like, you need to visit a hospital, man. Like, you need a little more than prayer.
I mean,
You need some Zoloft to some shit.
I mean,
man.
I would argue the most powerful man in the world is he breaks a lot of those tenets. So he's a Christian. He's a good
He's
Christian.
70.
Is he? Is he?
I don't think he is.
2 Corinthians,
Yo,
not one, but 2 of them. This dude didn't even know it was
I'm
going
gonna read
second.
from-
I want some.
They're going to
I want
read
some-
from the book of Too Fast and Too Furious.
I want some Corinthians hot wings now.
Wow, you are black as fuck. Anyway,
You said Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. I want to order
2
hot
chicken
wings.
boxes.
I want to order hot wings. They're the best hot wings in town.
They are pretty good.
They're very good.
So then we get, of course, it's not said formally, but what happens to him after he goes in front of that council of bishops is he gets labeled a heretic. And because he gets labeled a heretic, just about everyone in his flock of religious folks, they bail. They're like,
You know what the definition of a heretic is?
I can look it up.
The definition of a heretic is just someone who opposes your view. But that word feels,
It feels terrible.
that word feels like I'm gonna die. Right? Like,
Heretic!
you are a heretic. Like, no, I just disagree with you. But that's what if you disagree with some established doctrine of religion, like that, they label you a heretic.
dude, we're heretics. That's kind of dope.
And heretic. Yo,
It's kind of dope.
I'm going to put heretic in front of my name.
It kind of is dope, yo. Like it's like,
kind of a badass label. Heretic.
It's like a label that doesn't mean like, oh yeah, I'm a regulator. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, I mean, that was a cool
mount
ass
up.
song, but
Instead of heathen, I'm going to say heretic.
I'm a heretic.
Excellent.
I like it.
Yeah.
but doesn't that word like feel like?
It feels super heavy.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what's a heavier word than heretic? It's sort of the same word. Heresy. Heresy sound because like
You just committed heresy. Well, I just disagreed with you, yo.
like that's it. But that's enough.
That's what y'all need to do, because I don't talk to people on the internet because fuck y'all. But that's what y'all need to do whenever someone disagrees with some common fucking sense. You just label that motherfucker. You label that gun nut a heretic.
You know, if you don't, go ahead and check Twitter next week because I'll be dropping heretic bombs.
Hashtag heretic. That's basically what I'm going to. Yep.
We need more guns in schools. Heretic. let's get hashtag heretic.
You will scare the shit out of people because people don't take the time to look up words. And then you'll scare the shit out of them. Because I didn't know what the fuck a heretic was.
I mean, you have like in your mind what you think.
You kind of know what it is, but it's not as evil as the word makes it seem.
Heresy.
Any word ending in C just feels like a fucking evil ass word, right?
Yeah.
Tick. Ick.
Right.
Yeah,
Ick.
that ick. Lunatic.
Right. Like, but nah, heretic
Yeah.
is...
Heresy. Belief or opinion contrary to Orthodox religion. Especially Christian doctrine. God damn.
Opinion profoundly at odds with what is generally accepted. That's it.
That's it. That's it.
That's pretty funny.
You label them gun nuts a heretic.
By the way, you know,
scare the shit out of
you know
them.
who the biggest heretics in the world are? People who believe that the Earth is flat. They're fucking heretics. Shout out to heretics, man. Shout out to heretics everywhere.
I'm telling you, man, you start throwing that word around, boy. People will change.
Good. You know what?
They don't want to be called a heretic, especially because it's
Got that religious base.
yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like for me, horror movies are not my thing. Religious-based horror movies are definitely not my thing. Like, it's that same thing because it's got a little bit of extra. It's got like the devil. Like, I don't know. Is it real? Is it not real? It's not real. I know that.
Like, if you look at The Exorcist on its own, like if you take the religious part out of it, like that fucking pea soup vomit bullshit ass, like this shit is ridiculous. But because a preacher is standing there, because a pastor, a father, a preacher, or whatever the fuck you are, these white collar dudes, because he's standing there, kind of gives it a little more of a.
It feels a little shady. I'm like,
man,
this guy.
And that shit ain't nothing but a Paranormal Activity movie. That's all that shit is.
It's true.
You put a priest in there, and it's like, whoa, this is heavy.
Yeah, guys, this is let's not fuck around. Okay. So then Carlton goes to see a new church. After being labeled a heretic, he loses his church, and they literally auction off
shit off,
which he has to sit and watch, which is really sad. And Henry comes to be with him as his friend and kind of watch all this happen. And then Carlton just walks out. He's really upset. He's crying. Then Carlton later on, a year later,
that scene right there, that is, I felt for him right there because it's like,
yeah, I did too.
I know what I know, and I believe. Like, why are you people fucking shunning me for something that I genuinely in my heart of hearts believe? And
that's
I'm
easy.
not saying right, like
because he's a fucking heretic.
like for the first time ever, he knows what it feels like to be shunned by society at large.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's such a powerful moment in the film.
And you know, for people that hate gay people or black people or, you know, people that hate what is not them, like they just need to follow the golden rule. That is the golden rule in practice.
Yeah, he learned that shit. He learned that shit on the fucking comeback.
You got hit with the golden ruler, nigga.
Wake your ass up.
Right
like,
in the face.
He was like, oh shit, you hit. He did the fucking weebay. Like, It turns out I believe this thing, and it is truly what I believe, and it's truly who I am. Oh, you guys are I see what you did there, God. I'm gonna change. And so he goes a year later. He goes to see a new space with Nikki, who's kind of been his. She's been like right by his side the whole time. I thought they were gonna have a thing because she was always like she didn't get along with his wife, but she was always kind of like standing by him. I was like, is that gonna dissolve? And then she was gonna like, because she kind of looks like a hardcore church lady. I thought I kind of thought that was gonna happen, but
apparently his wife in real life filed papers for divorce, but she rescinded those papers. She was like, we could work it out. I think that was after he started getting on CNN and shit like that.
She was like, oh, them checks coming in.
Right.
Who you going to talk to? Jake Tapper? All right, I'll be here. Right. I like him. Then, so he basically confesses to Nikki that he doesn't really know what to preach about anymore. And so he kind of gives up the idea of preaching altogether. And then he gets a letter from Nikki that Reggie gave to her to give to him. And so he goes to see Reggie because Reggie's dying of HIV. And so he goes to see him, and they have this really, really sad, I thought really sad interaction. And, you know, he's surrounded by like a bunch of pills and everything else. He's like, you know, he's on kind of death's door really. And then he prays with him. And I think at this moment, they don't say it. And there's a couple moments in the movie that this kind of bothered me. They don't say certain things. They just lead you to figure it out, which I don't necessarily need hand-holding, but certain things that just kind of remain a little unclear unless you know more about the story. But I think at that moment, he realizes like his judgments of Reggie as being this gay guy don't make sense. Yeah. Right? And it's not just that he's going to go to heaven because he's saved by God, but he should have never been condemned because his sexuality is just who he is.
Wrong.
Right. If God created us in his image, Like, and he just created us. And Reggie even comes to that moment where he realizes that it is not a choice, that he is a gay man and he just is. Well, if you believe that, then you have to also believe that God made you that way. And if you believe that, then God has no problem with you being gay. That's the point, right? So I think in that moment, they don't say it directly, but I think that's what he figures out. Because then he has that sort of come to Jesus moment where he kind of goes to this, what I assume is the harbor downtown, and pours the water on his head, kind of, I guess, self-anointing, which seems convenient. And he then, I think that's kind of where he has this big sort of changeover. And then I guess it's in the future where he's then asked to come preach at some place. And it's clear that it's like, there are gay folks there. There is, I believe that one woman was trans. And so he states his whole idea of like, he now knows, to what you were saying earlier, he now knows what it's like to be ostracized for who he is. And so he truly gets it. And so then he is now preaching his inclusion, that, you know, he had preached this whole gospel of fear, but he doesn't anymore. Which is, and like, that was the soft side of the soft side for me with religion. Like, I can respect that, right? Like, I can respect that changeover. I can also respect the idea of Christians who are like, yeah, gay folks are fine, black, white, who cares? If we're all here for religion and we're all here for God, let's be positive and let's all take care of each other. It doesn't matter who you are. That you're just here. I can respect. I don't have to agree with the tenets of your religion, though.
So the woman that invited him to speak at this church is named Yvette Flunder. She is a very famous pastor and singer. She has been a member of the board of trustees of Star King School for the Ministry, and also served as a member of the Presidential Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS. Okay. Basically, she's a pastor who preaches to people who are shunned, and, you know, gay people. She herself is gay. And she, you know, but gay people believe in God too. And
which is wild. Why would you push them away? Don't you need more people for your flock?
Well, that one, those two words, that one passage said that, you know, you can't do that. So,
and y'all niggas have crab feasts at your church. Shut up. I know for a fact, I've been to black church crab feasts. Y'all don't see no fucking problem with that shit. But you can't have gay disco night? What kind of shit is that?
Right.
It's fucked up.
Funny little coincidence. Yvette Flunder was in a different production, was portrayed by Felicia Rashad, mother of Condola.
Yeah.
Gondola?
Condola
Rashad. Condola. Of her daughter who was in this movie. So
interesting. Yeah, overall, and that's basically credits. So he's still preaching. He's 65 now, I think. Yeah. But he's still out there doing his inclusion doctrine.
Got a couple books.
Yeah. Trying to go out there and make a difference. I can respect it.
Moral Oral's son was arrested for embezzling.
Yep.
So fuck you.
Yeah. And that is the story of Carlton Demetrius Pearson. He has a doctorate of divinity. All right. Any parting words? Are you excited for the YouTube comments?
No, I'm not, quite frankly. And
I'm gonna go a different way on that.
In all seriousness, man, like
no, I know.
Like if you can't respect someone else's opinion on something, just don't listen. Just turn this shit off right now. Well, I mean, it's a little late. You can turn it off right now. You just watched it.
Yeah, seems a little late. Thanks for the ad revenue.
But yeah, man, like that's people take this stuff way too seriously. When the fact of the matter is, no one knows what happens when you die. No one.
Yep.
So just live your life. If you need to be scared into living your life like a productive member of society, then by all means, go ahead. I'm gonna scare my kids. But
scare my kids.
But like some of us don't need that. And just live your life and not be an asshole.
Yes. You'd think it wouldn't be that hard.
I mean, you really would, right? Like follow the golden rule, yo.
But to quote a very famous person, I don't even know how to talk to people who aren't religious. Steve Harvey.
Where's your moral barometer?
I don't know. The same place where your second and first wife are.
Right. Dummy. Like,
I've never fucked around on my wife, and I don't believe in God at all. You're believing in God and sticking your dick in everything walking, so get the fuck out of my face. Moral barometer. Suck my dick. Fake ass hot top fade. Terrence, any parting words?
Religion is stupid.
Like, really?
Sorry.
That's what we're ending on?
Look, man.
After this wonderful conversation that the three of us have had about, the nuance. And
Terrence is like, nah, I'm done.
nah, fuck this.
He was like, I was way too nice for way too long.
It just bothers me. It really does.
Had to get back to basics.
It just bothers me. Like, people take the one thing about religion that drives me crazy is people say you have to do the work and God will give you whatever it is that what you earned. Like, you just basically just took for granted everything. I'm trying to think of the word. Like, you belittle basically everything you've done.
Yeah.
And say
you don't like
God.
when people give credit, basically.
Yeah,
they take away their own
God.
credit.
Like, why do you take credit from yourself? Because God, God helped you. Like, no, he didn't. You helped yourself.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fine.
But
whatever.
God helps those that help themselves.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I hate that stupid fucking phrase. Like, no, nigga, I did this. I'm not giving credit to somebody else
Again,
that I ain't never seen.
Again, I've said this on the podcast before. When I graduated and got my master's degree, I did that shit.
Right.
I give credit to myself and my wife
God.
for being a lovely wife who helped me through it in many ways. That's it.
Yeah.
1 and 2. Those are the only people who were involved.
Like, I don't know him.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't, unfortunately. Or fortunately, whatever.
Yeah, when I have to sit down and edit this podcast, guess who's going to be doing it? Me. Not me and God.
Nah, you got to take the 50 Cent approach to this. When it comes to God, it's like, nah, he did that shit.
Yeah, he did everything.
Yeah, God.
Guilty as fuck.
Yeah. When episodes are late, that
was God.
That was
like,
God. Give it up to him.
Yeah. It's his fault.
Look, I wanted to have it done. God said you guys weren't ready for it, so you had to wait till the next one. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Wow, these comments are going to be really goddamn ridiculous. It's fine.
It's cool. Whatever.
I think I turned off the comments on, what was the other religious movie we did?
War Room?
Yeah. Like, yo,
We
people
like that movie. We like this movie.
Nigga, not enough. Not enough. Not enough. No, we
Like
did
Tales
not.
from the Hood?
Oh, I left the comments on. Niggas get so mad at that movie.
Yeah, they not.
Yeah, well, whatever. All right, guys, that is it for us. We will see you guys next week for another preview episode of Black on Black Cinema.
See you.
Take it easy.
Bye.
We out.